Good afternoon, everybody. Today is July 4th, 2026. Today is a special day for me. Um, Today is 1 year since I started my Freedom Rocks YouTube channel. And on this channel, we talk about being free from addictions and how you can operate your life um, to be free from addictions and stay free from addictions. I throw a lot of um, biblical aspects through it, biblical angles, and kind of use the 12 steps, kind of mix it in there a little bit. And then, of course, real life experiences. So it's kind of like a Christian based recovery type thing, is kind of the angle of my channel. And a little story how I got my name is about a year ago ish. I wanted to share my story and what I did to be free and let people know, there is a way out there to do this. And to share my story to help people. Um, so I picked one or two names, and I was trying on YouTube, and I was trying to get that involved, and got the name up, and got YouTube, got a video going. It didn't work, and I was getting real frustrated. So familiar with YouTube, it can kind of get frustrating at the beginning. So I was like, oh man. So like I said last year, I wore this T-shirt that says "Freedom Rocks" because it was 4th of July, and I was sitting at the computer trying to figure out this YouTube thing. Finally, I just went, you know what? I'm just going to grab something. I'm just going to pick something and use that, and maybe it'll work, and start making videos and see if all the computer stuff works and, whatever. So I looked down on my t shirt and was like, oh, what's on my t shirt? Freedom Rocks. I'm like, that's kind of cool, and I was kind of thinking aspect of, the 4th of July, the United States of America freedom type thing. And I'm like, that's kind of neat. But then as I started making more videos and thinking about it, I'm like, that's a different aspect, freedom, from bondage, from addiction. So I was like, more and more, I like the name of it. So it was kind of like it wasn't a fluke. It was a God thing for sure. It was a kind of little God wink, but it worked out. So that's how I got the name Freedom Rocks for my YouTube channel. Today, I'm just going to kind of try to keep it, fairly short, of what I did to um, break free from my addiction, and kind of maybe, share some things to help you to get rid of yours. So, um, and addictions across the board. Um, the recovery from addictions across the board. We have drugs and drinking on one end, and we on one end of the spectrum, we got caffeine and nicotine on the other end. But they're all the same, to recover from them. If they're affecting your life, they all affect our lives. But um, I'm going to come through the angle of drinking. That affected my life quite badly, actually. So, nicotine, caffeine, they're not so bad, but they are a drug and they are an addictive thing. Anything, in my perspective, anything that you go to when you're emotionally upset or emotionally um, elevated, whatever, good, bad, otherwise, is what you go to. You have a bad day, you have a beer. You have a good day, you have two beers. Or you go have a cigarette, or um, whatever. You go to that thing when you get emotionally disturbed. That's probably your addiction. And if people kind of say, talk about, you know, people like people who drink or drugs, it's like, well, can't you just stop? And it's like, well, yeah, but the feeling that we get, the feeling I got for drinking was like the feeling that we get from our phones right now. Like when you get bored, you pick up your phone. You're in a waiting room, you pick up your phone. It's an impulse. It's a thing you do. Sometimes you don't even know you do it. That's what an addiction is for me when I was drinking. It's like, well, whatever. I just go to the gas station, instead of grabbing a soda, I grab two beers or a six pack or whatever. It was just there, and that's what I did. but I had major effects, um, consequences from it as well. So um, as most addictions do, but we keep doing it, and even though we get in trouble with it, we still do it. Um, so kind of step one, I kind of mix the Bible with the steps uh, of 12 steps, and then kind of tell you what to do after that. Um, Step one is to realize you have a problem. That's in AA. Um, and then realize you have a problem, and then you want to do something about it. Step two or step three is that you give your life and your will over to the care of God as you understand Him. I don't like to understand Him at the end. Actually, they added that later to make more people come into the AA program. So submit your will and your life over to the care of God, period. Um, Even though there are different ways to recover, different pathways. You can go to a 12 step, you can go to a Bible study, you can go to church, you can go a lot of ways. But the way you have to start is to um, let Christ in your heart. Believe in Him that He can do it, and let God guide your way. Once you make that decision and turn your will over to Him, um, you have to do that. And then after that, whatever you do, He'll help you, guide you. He'll guide you into the 12 steps. Um, 12 steps are good to kind of get started because they have it spelled up step by step to where the Bible really doesn't. It has Bible verses to go with the steps, which is very helpful. But the more you grow, you can kind of decipher out of the AA program or the big book what's not biblical, what doesn't, really apply to recovery through the Bible. I'm not saying the big book is bad. I used it. It's pretty good actually. But there are some things in there that aren't biblical. And as you grow and read it, you'll pick them out. So, but the baseline is to have God control of your life and your will. And once you make that decision, He'll guide you on your way. And so when I did that, um, I told Him I had enough. God, take it away, and He took it away instantly. That morning of a hangover or bad drunk I had, I asked Him for help. By the time I went to bed that night, it was gone. My obsession left. Um, it doesn't work that way for everybody. Sometimes just gradually. But the more we pursue God, the more we read the Bible, the more we go to the 12 step meetings or just read the 12 step book, um, mainly the more we read the Bible and ask God for guidance, the more that quote unquote demon will leave. Because we feel our heart, we feel our spirit full of God and um, training, I guess you'd say. And eventually it just breaks free. Um, so Yeah. So the more we follow God and put more good stuff into our body, in our mind, in our soul, more bad stuff leaves. There's nothing there. So that's what I did. And then after that, once I submitted, He took it away. I started going to 12 step meetings and reading my Bible and got involved in church more. And um, some people don't really like the church thing, but that's okay. um, Try it once in a while. Just kind of pick one and a Bible believing church, and try one. They're not all bad. And get involved in a 12 step meeting at least. And once you do that and follow that truly with your heart, God will guide you. Um, so that's what I did. Got into um, 12 steps and Bible studies, and that's what maintained me to stay free, is having these people around me. And you got to cut away your old friends, your old beliefs, and as you grow, they just kind of fall off. So that's good. And then as you grow, you share your testimony. You share your testimony. That's in the Bible. Um, because the testimony is our strength. Not only is it our strength, it gives other people strength to get through their problems. So I asked for help. I turned my will over to God. I started 12-step Bible study, reading the Word, and started sharing my story. Um, so that's kind of what gives us our strength to recover. Um, yeah, and the more we do it, the more it cultivates us. It helps us find bad places in our heart or in our mind to get rid of it when we talk and share to people. And when they share us our stories, they kind of point out some things, not really, probably not knowingly, but we pick it up of things that they say. So it's kind of cultivating a thing when we share each other's testimony. So um, that's a good thing to do. And then as you go, um, before I really committed myself to it, I tried to do it, not 100%, not 100% gave up. So I stumbled a few times, and you probably will stumble after you try it honestly 100%. But even if you do stumble, get back up, get back on the horse, they say, because that's where the devil wants to keep us. You know, whatever, we slip up, we have another drink, you get drunk, and we got a month's sobriety, and we drink. Get back up and do it again, because the devil wants you down there, and that's where he can control you, is when you're in your puddle of self-pity. Oh, I suck, this ain't gonna work, blah blah blah. That's exactly where he wants you. So even if you do slip, get back up and do it again, and keep trying. God does say that we do stumble. Psalms 37, when Yahweh delights in how you live your life, he establishes your every step. If they stumble badly, they will still survive, for the Lord lifts them up with his hands. That was out of the Passion Version. So, and there's a couple other verses in the Bible too, that God will help us if we stumble. We just have to get up, say, whoops, God, forgive me, help me, move on. Don't sit back and go, oh man, that's going to suck, I got to do it all over. That's where the devil gets his foothold. So just get up, keep doing it. As long as we put God first, whatever we do, being our addiction or whatever, he will help us. That's the very cornerstone that we need. That is the very anchor that we need. So no matter what happens after that, things will happen. Matthew 6:33, seek ye first the kingdom of God. He's telling us that. So that's what I did. 24 years ago, I did that. And here I am 24 years later. Back then, we didn't have YouTube or the TV, or not TV, the YouTube or the cell phones. And, so I talked a little bit in meetings here and there, but just lately, last probably year and a half-ish, kind of more so, telling my story. And then got on YouTube. I thought take another step forward. So as long as I can share it to somebody else. Yeah, so that's what I did. I admitted I had a problem. I got into my life and kept going, and got involved in a group, got involved in a church, got involved in some other Christian biblically based stuff, and it helps. It helps a lot. Um, and life is not going to be easy once you submit, once you make them choices. It's actually probably going to be a little harder in a way, because once you make a decision to be on God's side, so to speak, and you commit your life and your will to him, the devil's going to attack you from every direction. It's going to, from your mind, from people. that you know, from people you don't know. I mean, just it's going to be crazy. But you're not going to go back to drink about it. You're not going to go back to drug about it. You're not going to go back to gamble about it. You're not going to go, you know what I'm saying? You're not going to have that crutch to go back to. You're going to have God and His Word, and you can have a support system. You can have, somebody in a Bible study. You have the 12-step group. You got all these weapons that will help you when that happens. Because the devil does not want you to make it to be sober. He don't want you alive, period. Once you start living for God, that's his mission, is to steal, kill, and destroy. And he's out there. And God's will for us is to have abundant life, it says in John 10. So there are two spirits out there. There are two worlds out there. And if we continue to, if you say, well, I was out drinking, sleeping around, doing all this and that, I didn't feel no resistance. I didn't feel nothing. That's because he already had you. The devil had you there. There is no resistance. But once you get on God's side, it's, there's a war. But it's a winnable war, to where the other war isn't winnable. If you haven't committed your life to God and had Christ in your heart and turned your heart to Christ, that war is not winnable. But once you do, after that, it's a very winnable war, because God already won. We already know the end of the story. So keep going. Get up, keep going, and that's what I did. You're gonna have some attitude issues. You're gonna have some mental issues. Mind games. And as you grow, and talk to people through church, through your 12 steps, you're renewing your mind, because in the Bible it says He will renew your mind. So that's mind renewal. Is getting rid of these old addictions, these old thoughts, these old attitudes. Well, somebody upset me today, I'm gonna go have a beer. Nope, that thought's gone. Upset, somebody upset me today. Oh, well, I'll pray for him, or he's probably having a bad day. Poor guy. Move on. It's a different attitude. God gave you that attitude difference. He'll renew your mind. That's mind renewal. So your life will change. And yeah, so, and that's what I did. And as you live your life, you're sharing your life, you're sharing your story, things happen. God will start talking to people through people at your meetings, at church. When you read, He'll talk to you through Bible verses. And, it'll just sometimes just blow your mind of what, the last, I think it was yesterday or today, I was reading my morning meditation thing. Like, oh, that's kind of cool. Think none of it. To get up, get dressed, do my thing, go out the door, hit a YouTube something. That same YouTube would talk about the exact same thing I just did or read, but in a different book. And then I bump into somebody on the street and they're talking about something, or talking to a friend about God, or whatever, some situation, and it's the same exact thing. I mean, 3 times in one day about the same thing. I was like, what? So that happens all the time. So God watches us, and He helps us once we commit to Him. So I think I rambled enough. So I guess the point of this story was to share my testimony, to share my strength, to tell you to keep going, and ask Christ into your heart, ask God for help, turn your heart to Him, and He will help you, and He will give you freedom, because freedom rocks. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and leave a comment down there if I helped you in any way, or at least hit thumbs up. I'll do some more here along the way, a couple weeks or a week. I'm trying to get them on a weekly basis, but I've been kind of slipping. But I had to do one today because today was my 1-year anniversary. So subscribe if you like what you hear, and leave a comment if you would. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.